All right, Tacticus, keep your eyes peeled. This is the drop point. Captain Castellanos' voice crackled through the Voxcom. Roger that, Captain, responded Tacticus, his eyes scanning the barren landscape below. The Thunderhawk descended through the ash-gray sky, the winds howling outside as the Marines prepared for battle. The drop pod slammed into the ground, sending shockwaves through the desolate wasteland. The Marines inside felt the impact in their bones as they were thrown against the restraints. The hiss of the pod's hatch opening was the only sound in the sudden silence that followed. They emerged into a world of dust and ruins, their booted feet echoing through the abandoned city streets. Sergeant Castellanos surveyed the area, his bolter at the ready. The rest of the squad followed suit, their power armor clanking rhythmically as they fell into a defensive formation. They were the vanguard of the Ultramarines, the tip of the spear in a war that had ravaged the planet for millennia. Their mission was to find the enemy's command center and put an end to the chaos that as they moved deeper into the city. The air grew thick with the stench of decay and burnt metal. The buildings around them were ancient, the remnants of a civilization long lost to time and war. Above, the skies were dominated by the roar of aircraft and the distant thunder of artillery fire. The horizon was a fiery mosaic of explosions and laser strikes. "Keep your formation tight," Castellanos barked, his eyes flicking from side to side as he scanned for threats. The squad was a well-oiled machine, each Marine a living embodiment of the Emperor's will. They knew that any mistake could mean their doom in this unforgiving land. The buildings grew closer, the shadows deepening as the sun dipped below the horizon. The red glow of the distant fires painted the ruins with a hellish palette. The air grew colder, carrying with it the promise of the long night to come. "Contact, 12 o'clock," shouted Brother Gaius, his bolter snapping to attention. The squad pivoted, the sound of their weapons powering up a chorus in the quiet. The enemy emerged from the shadows, a horde of twisted figures clad in corroded armor, their eyes burning with a malevolent light. "Hold your ground," Castellanos bellowed. "We stand together as Astartes." The enemy, a warband of Chaos Space Marines, charged towards them, their weapons spitting fire and shrieks echoing through the streets. The Ultramarines stood firm, their bolters blazing in response, cutting down the first wave with precise, calculated fire. The cacophony of war filled the air as the two sides clashed in a storm of steel and fury. Brother Lysander took a heavy blow from a mutated Chaos Terminator, his power armor buckling under the impact. With a roar, he swung his power sword, carving through the traitor's armor as if it were paper. The Chaos Marine stumbled back, its unholy life force spilling out onto the cracked pavement. The enemy's numbers were staggering, but the Ultramarines were undeterred. Their discipline and training shone as they moved in perfect harmony, each covering the other's flank. The sound of their bolters was a symphony of destruction, a relentless rhythm that spoke of the Emperor's wrath. Brother Cato, the squad's heavy weapon specialist, set up his multi-melta on a rooftop, its fiery beams slicing through the air to melt the advancing tide of chaos. The buildings around them began to crumble under the relentless assault, but the Marines remained steadfast, their resolve unbroken. The battle was a maelstrom of death, each warrior locked in a brutal dance of combat. Castellanos found himself face-to-face with a hulking Chaos Lord, his crimson armor adorned with the mark of Khorne, the blood god. The traitor's chain axe whirred with the promise of butchery, but the sergeant met him with an unwavering gaze. For the Emperor, Castellanos roared, charging the Chaos Lord. The two clashed in a shower of sparks, their power weapons screaming as they fought. The Chaos Lord was a skilled foe, his axe biting deep into Castellanos' shield. But the sergeant was not to be denied. He countered with a swift strike from his power sword, cutting through the traitor's pauldron and leaving a smoldering gash in its wake. The battle raged on, with every Marine fighting for their lives. Brother Tiberius, the squad's apothecary, rushed to tend to the fallen, his narthecium bubbling with life-saving fluids. The clang of steel and the smell of ozone filled the air as the two sides engaged in brutal, close-quarter combat. Above them, the sky grew darker, the red light fading to an eerie purple as a massive warp storm began to form. The very fabric of reality seemed to warp and twist as the power of the warp spilled into the mortal realm. The ground trembled beneath their feet, and the Marines could feel the malicious intent of the demonic forces gathering above. "We must find the command center before the storm breaks," Castellanos shouted over the din of battle. He knew that once the warp storm fully descended, the demons would be upon them, and no mortal weapon would be able to stand against their otherworldly might. The squad pushed forward, fighting through the relentless tide of Chaos Marines. They encountered pockets of resistance, each more ferocious than the last. The enemy had anticipated their arrival and had set a trap, hoping to wear down the Ultramarines before the demonic reinforcements arrived. But Castellanos and his brothers would not be deterred. They fought with a ferocity that belied their dwindling numbers, their bolters never silent. Each step was a testament to their endurance, each breath a declaration of their unyielding spirit. The ground was slick with the blood of the slain, and the once proud ruins of the city were now a battleground of honor and redemption.